Although we never experienced America's long-running sketch comedy show Saturday Night Live in mainstream Australian culture, the movies that have spawned from its popular characters and actors, including Wayne's World, Night at the Roxbury, Blues Brothers, have all seen considerable success and devoted followings down under. Many of these SNL-inspired films have either had very little box office success and/or critical praise, but remain memorable for their quirky characters, outrageous humour, and often their subversion of comedy tropes. In 2010, Will Forte brought his parodical version of Macguyver from short sketch comedy to big screen adventure. This is Macgruber. In Macgruber, our title hero is called out of a long retirement years after mega-villain Dieter von Kuntz, Val Kilmer, murders Macgruber's wife Casey, Maya Rudolph. It seems that Kuntz is back to destroy the world with a nuclear warhead, and only Macgruber and his sidekick, CIA operative turned singer Vicky, Kristen Wiig, and professional CIA operative Piper, Ryan Philippe, can stop him. There's a lot going against Macgruber, mainly how do you take a 2-minute sketch and make it into a 90-minute film? For my money, they did it really well, and for me, this is one of the best parodies of the last 2 decades. A huge part of this is thanks to the cast of experienced comic actors. Will Forte plays Macgruber as a know-it-all on the outside, but rather clueless underneath. His aesthetic is late 80s, early 90s with his outfit, and Mazda MX-5 or Miata, depending on where you're from, complete with removable radio. Will Forte also actually owned this car in real life. He has slight anger management issues that come out in extremely hilariously violent ways, like destroying cars or ripping throats, and if he can avoid a confrontation and hide, he will. On paper, this should make him pretty unlikable, but Forte plays him with this sweet and gentle undertone and naivety, which helps the audience to root for him in despite of some of his quite selfish decisions, such as dressing up Vicky like him as a decoy in a cafe, a very hilarious scene where we get some excellent comic timing by Kristen Wiig. She is for me the heart of this movie and delivers some of the funniest moments thanks to her portrayal of Vicky as someone who admires Macgruber but has a lot of empathy and heart. She also has a slight naivety that has developed well, and Wiig plays it up in expert fashion, like singing parts of her dialogue, going from 0 to 100 in the cafe when the guns open fire on her teammates and she screams hysterically on the floor, and begrudgingly having to explain to Kuntz what stick it where the sun doesn't shine means, and bluntly turning down a romantic invitation from him with a deadpan, "Ew, no." These are small moments in the film, but uproariously funny thanks to Wiig's delivery and timing. Wiig really forms a fully fledged character and is a joy to watch. Ryan Philippe as Piper and the great Val Kilmer as Kuntz play the straight serious roles to contrast Forte's incredibly ridiculous Macgruber. Both characters finding humour mostly in their frustration and bemusement of Macgruber's occasional idiocy and recklessness. Philippe is convincing as a professionally trained operative trying to understand Macgruber's underwhelming but sometimes effective traps using everyday materials, along with having to teach him how to fire weapons as Macgruber has proudly never had to use them. As villainous Dieter von Kuntz, Kilmer expertly plays it completely straight. He is aware of how incompetent Macgruber is and is merely annoyed that he keeps getting in his way. Kilmer could have easily played the villain a lot bigger, but the decision to play him deadpan with a self-awareness works excellently. Director Jorma Taccone had told Kilmer and fellow veteran actor Powers Booth to act as if they were in a Joel Silver-produced film in the 80s. This self-aware parody of 1980s action tropes, and of course the obvious parody of Macgyver, makes for some hilarious send-ups, particularly in the film's use of cheesy romantic pop tunes from that time period, most notably in 2 outrageously graphic sex scenes, one of which with fellow SNL alumni Maya Rudolph playing a ghost of Macgruber's wife Casey in a brief but really hilarious cameo. Rudolph was also 8 months pregnant during filming, which explains the use of medium close-ups and her large wedding dress to hide her belly. Macgruber had a tough initial run at the box office in the US in May 2010, opening at 6th place with just over $4 million. The very same weekend, Shrek Forever After opened at number 1 with $70 million, and Iron Man 2 sat in its 3rd week, grossing $26 million. Macgruber limped to an $8.5 million finish and was withdrawn from US cinemas after only 4 weeks. Internationally, the film was released in only a few markets, likely due to its box office failure in the US, and its grand total was $9.3 million, just shy of levelling its very modest $10 million budget. In Australia, Macgruber had no theatrical release and quietly landed on DVD some months later. It is sadly now out of print and not easy to find. Critics reacted mostly negative towards Macgruber, many stating that it was disposable, scatological and crude humour that did not transfer well from sketch to screen. A minority of critics, however, found the positive in the film, praising its parody of 80s action, forte commitment to the character of Macgruber, and the performance of Kristen Wiig. Some critics even went as far to say that it was the best film adapted from an SNL sketch since Wayne's World in the early 90s. And I would agree, the film is entertaining, doesn't play it safe with its humour and obscenity, and has a hilarious lead performance and a talented supporting cast. The film has found fans in the last decade and has become something of a cult classic. There were little whispers of a Macgruber 2 for a while, but while this never eventuated, a Macgruber TV series has been made with Fort, Wiig and Philippe all returning, along with other stars in new roles like Lawrence Fishburne and Billy Zane. It's currently slated for a December 2021 release on the US streaming service Peacock, and hopefully we get to see it in some form down under. I'd say if, like me, you're a fan of parodies like Hot Shots or The Naked Gun or even the Scary Movie films, you're probably going to find something to laugh at in this film. So check it out if you can find it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Road to Nowhere Films for more content. And until next time...